Hi everyone, Emily here. Thanks for joining us today on Forbes Flash. Let's jump right into some of the biggest stories of this past week. Global spirits giant Bacardi Limited will acquire the maker of popular Patron tequila for $5.1 billion. So, what does this mean for billionaire Jean-Paul DeJoria, who co-created Patron in 1989 and became majority owner in 2008? He plans to sell his 70% stake in the company, but the exact impact to his $3.4 billion fortune remains to be seen. And now, a look at some of the stories from Forbes over the past week. Study after study has shown that companies with diverse teams have stronger financial performances. So, Forbes and Statista took a look at the best employers for diversity in America. At the top of the list is investment management firm Northern Trust, where women make up 38% of the top executives. Following on the list is the Smithsonian Institute. Amazon's newest convenience store concept opened this week in Seattle. The idea behind Amazon Go is to eliminate waiting in line for checkout, replaced by technology. The store has been in private beta for nearly a year, leaving those interested to wait in anticipation and show up in great numbers this week, leaving Twitter to report on the irony of waiting in line to get into a store created to avoid lines. Planning to watch the Grammys this weekend? Before you tune in to see if your favorite heads home with a win, here's a fun hypothetical. If Grammy wins were up to the fans, they're not, of course, here's what the data says would happen on Sunday. Kendrick Lamar would take home Album of the Year for Damn, based on its streaming success, and SZA would land the Best New Artist Award, as streaming fans have shown up for her debut album Control. Song of the Year would go to Despacito, obviously. Again, this is all hypothetical. If you're watching the show Sunday night, follow along with our Twitter coverage over at Forbes Showbiz. Earlier this week, the Trump administration introduced a tariff on imported solar panels. The move will be a direct hit to the fastest growing job opportunity in the U.S., that of a solar PV installer. The Solar Energy Industries Association estimates that the U.S. solar industry will lose 23,000 American jobs this year alone. The goal of the tariff is to support U.S. manufacturing jobs, but it will also impact prices of projects by as much as 10%. Congratulations to the young disruptors named to our 30 Under 30 Europe list, which just came out this week.
And then through that production deal, I met a lot of label heads, and then through that, I got signed by Jay-Z.
From names you know, like Millie Bobby Brown and Dua Lipa, to others you may not know yet, the list pulls together an inspiring group of leaders who are already making major changes to the world around them. The honorees come from 34 different European countries, with entrepreneurs from places like Belarus and Kosovo for the very first time. Want to check it out? Look up hashtag Forbes U30 Europe on social. New York City, the next major biotech hub? The city is currently asking for proposals on how to use $100 million in funds and city land to create a life sciences hub. The goal? Become competitive with Boston and San Francisco as a place to start biotech companies. The money is part of the $500 million New York City has set aside to draw in biotech investment. While the city doesn't have academic hives such as MIT, Harvard, or Stanford, it's already growing a dense cluster of medical research institutions. A new central biotech hub could be a catalyst to spark future investments. Joining us now is Forbes wealth editor Carrie Dolan to discuss the massive jump in Jeff Bezos' net worth this week.
It's been an incredible past few months for the world's richest man, Jeff Bezos. As of today, he's worth $114 billion, according to Forbes calculations. He became the #1 richest in the world in the end of October 2017, so not even 3 months ago, at $90.6 billion. So his net worth has climbed 25% in less than 3 months. He's now put a huge $20 billion gap between himself and #2 richest Bill Gates. Most of Jeff Bezos' net worth is in his ownership of Amazon stock. He owns about 16% of the company, which is worth about $107 billion. He's sold maybe about $5 billion worth of shares over the years, and he's said that he's putting a lot of that into his space rocket startup, Blue Origin, which is trying to build reusable rockets for space travel. So Jeff Bezos founded Amazon.com in 1994 as a bookseller, and since then the company has expanded to selling just about anything you would want to buy. So more and more of us are spending more and more of our dollars buying anything we need on Amazon.com, which has driven the stock price up a lot. The other thing that Amazon's gotten into and become very successful with is Amazon Web Services, which is offering computing power to all kinds of companies. It's particularly startups can just tap into what kinds of computing power they need and they pay as they go. So you don't have to buy a whole server farm if you're starting a software firm, for example. The other activity that Amazon's gotten into is producing entertainment. Movies and shows that have gotten awards, and Jeff Bezos is now showing up at places like the Golden Globes and the Academy Awards because some of his Amazon productions have won awards or been nominated for awards. Jeff Bezos became the richest man in the world in October 2017, and then he crossed into the $100 billion mark, which really has only been done once before in Forbes' tracking of wealth since 1982. In 1999, Bill Gates briefly became worth $100 billion. If you factor in inflation, that $100 billion that Bill Gates was worth in 1999 is $150 billion in today's dollars. So you can't really say that Jeff Bezos is the richest person in the history of the world if you use inflation adjustment. If you're just using nominal dollars, yes, he is definitely the richest that we've ever seen on any Forbes lists. We've never had anybody this rich. Just a few weeks ago, he gave $33 million to an organization called The Dream, which gives scholarships, college scholarships to DACA children who were brought here illegally when they were younger. He's also given about $65 million over the years for cancer research to the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center in Seattle. Besides his interest in space travel, Bezos is also interested in the news media. In 2013, he spent $250 million buying the Washington Post, which has thrived under his ownership. And they've devoted a lot of editorial resources at the Washington Post to covering Donald Trump and the Trump administration. There were a couple of times in 2017 where Jeff Bezos briefly became the richest person in the world when Amazon stock pushed him over Bill Gates, and then the stock dropped a little bit and he fell back down to number 2. He's really held on to his lead in a very strong way since the end of October, and that gap between number 1 and number 2 is huge at $20 billion right now. That could change, of course. If Amazon stock falls dramatically, then his net worth will fall dramatically too, because his net worth really is based on, so much on the stock price of Amazon. It would take a lot, I think, for somebody to overcome Bezos as number 1 right now. You'd need a really crazy stock run up. And number 2 is Bill Gates. I don't think Microsoft stock is growing anywhere near as fast as Amazon is right now. And number 3 is Warren Buffett. Berkshire Hathaway stock is super valuable, but again, it's an old line company. The stock is not growing like Amazon is. So it's hard to really predict who could overtake Bezos as number 1 right now. Of course, it's not impossible that this could happen. It's just a matter of time.
Thanks for joining us this week. As always, we'd love your feedback, so tweet it to us using #ForbesFlash. And we'll see you next Friday morning, same time, same place.